Welcome to Decades Salle, the institutional podcast of De La Salle University, Manila. For today's episode, we have a very special guest who one might call is a banker's banker. He was a 1986 BS Commerce Marketing Management graduate who cut his teeth in Urban Bank and Asia Trust Bank, and then eventually rising in ranks in Citibank and HSBC until finally becoming the first Filipino to be CEO of the esteemed bank HSBC. During the time, the bank had numerous awards, and then later he has also helmed PNB, or Philippine National Bank, during the time of COVID. Of course, a very difficult time, which we will touch on later, and yet during his tenure there, he was able to garner, again, multiple awards for the best response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, he is the President and General Manager of GSIS. Please welcome Mr. Wick Veloso. Hi, Sir Wick.
Hi, Meryl. Thank you for having me here. First, I would just like to share that I was also part of what used to be called PCI Bank, where I was head of the domestic treasury and also the treasurer of PCI Capital, the investment bank.
Truly a banker's banker, and I appreciate the green eyeglasses. I think it's a La Salle little, green and white uniform that we have always. So, Sir Wick, I have to ask, when you were a student in La Salle, did you imagine that you would become president and general manager of GSIS? Was it in your, vision board?
I'd like to share that my objective at the time when I was here was just to finish schooling. And after the university, it's a free-for-all. And you have no guarantee of where you'll end, of what you're going to be able to do as a career. And it was something that I never thought of being part of. I never thought of myself being in the bank because I loved marketing, and I was so much inspired with advertising. I wanted to be in the advertising field at the onset, but it was just right after the EDSA revolution, and it was a very tough job market at the time, and the opening that was available was in banking. That's how I got into banking.
And you never left.
I've never left.
So, Sir Wick, of course, I want to ask about the COVID situation, because obviously we're still kind of recovering from it. But what I admire most also about your work is that you were able to make PNB the best managed bank of that period. So could you tell us what your mindset was as the leader of an organization?
When COVID set in, we were fortunate that a few months back was a volcanic eruption. And the volcanic eruption actually told me and the rest of my senior management team that we need to be prepared for any contingency that will allow us to be able to work remotely, to be able to deploy the team if in the event this becomes catastrophic and you may be unable to report for work. And we need to be able to prepare ourselves. So I've always believed in planning ahead of time, making sure that you establish each potential risk and situations which can arise out of an event, and be prepared accordingly. So what we've done is to make sure that business doesn't get disrupted, that we're able to service customers at the same time, that allowed us to be able to respond to customers' needs. And there are very important decisions that you need to be making, and difficult decisions. Like, to ensure that operations continue, I have to make that bold decision and recommendation to the management team that those are in operations stay in the office. They cannot leave. Why? Because the moment they do go back home and they get infected, we can no longer process head office operations. IT, or information technology is also a critical part of the business. And if we allow any member of the IT team to be going back and forth and bring the infection to the office, then that puts a halt to our major business activity. So we have to make that difficult decision. Allow them to be able to live in the office, have shifts of every 2 weeks, and most importantly, how can you allow individuals who are unable to work from home be able to work from home? And immediately, for those that do not have laptops, you have desktops in the office, allow yourself to be able to get the desktop, bring it at home, give them connectivity, pay for the connectivity for those that do not have access to the office because of various restrictions. If you remember, there were checkpoints at a time. We used our office t-shirt. We have colored shirts with a very big name of our bank. And actually, it allowed us easy access to the checkpoints because they immediately know that you're a priority worker, and allowed us to be able to service our customers' needs. Food, how are you able now to be able to give your respective team members the ability to survive without any restaurants open? The concept of bayanihan is something we put together. Allow somebody from within the team to bring food, they cook there, and be able to also use bayanihan for those who have vehicles to fetch their colleagues and bring them. And that's where I realized that a number of employees are so dedicated. Some walk for a number of kilometers to get to work. Some use their bike for, very long travels. And it impressed me. But what I made sure of is immediately day one, lockdown, via electronic communication, I went to each and every branch office via Zoom and made myself available to check on each and every one. Say hi, hello, how can I help? How are the things in your respective areas? Share with me what you see. Share with me what you experience, because it allows me to be able to share that back to the team, how we can craft policy. And most of all, the most important part is that not everyone was prepared for digital banking. So immediately launched the Bank on Wheels. Those are
Mobile.
they're supposed to be mobile banks, but we only had one operating, and we usually use that for major events like concerts. So what did we do? Armored cars were transformed into mobile banking units, and we had ATMs inside. We had it done immediately to allow us to be able to service the cash needs, especially of those lockdown areas. And it may sound funny. There are some parts of Luzon that are perpetually under floodwater. We were even thinking at the time of putting together a teller that will allow them to be able to service the cash transactions.
Wow.
But that's the only way. You need to be able to adapt to the situation there and then.
As a leader, I'm sure you're used to having every single quote of yours possibly not just affect public policy, but become a headline. And I'm sure over the decades, you have experienced all sorts of crises. Asian financial crisis, the Wall Street crisis, of course the pandemic most recently. What is your philosophy in weathering those headwinds?
I've always believed that every crisis presents an opportunity. It is the perfect way for you to learn. And what's important is you always surround yourself with individuals that are equally enthusiastic to learn, be able to provide solutions, use this as a case study, and be able to debate what are the necessary courses of action. I always say I always surround myself with very good men and women around me. Allows me to be able to have the respective team be able to put together ideas. Nobody's got a monopoly of bright ideas here. That is why it is important for you to always listen, try to understand the situation. And I believe a lot probably are able to cope primarily because they sit back, try to understand the situation, they take a look or understand the reasons why a problem occur and go to the core and fix the core, and that's how you're able to put things together. But what's more important is during this difficult period, the ability to communicate and make everybody understand that they're part of a team. When everybody understands that they're part of a team and they have necessary contributions to fix the problem, will you have a commitment from everyone to make things work.
You're the very first Filipino to be CEO of HSBC. And not only is that highly prestigious, it's pretty historic too. What do you think were the values or the special things you had that allowed you to rise to that position?
I would rather say that me being as a Filipino was probably just the right timing that came about. But in terms of how should someone be able to prepare themselves for bigger responsibilities is what I would probably share to some or to our listeners here what they need to be able to do. Prepare yourself. You need to be able to constantly learn. Each day I wake up very early, and that is a discipline I learned while studying in the university. I wake up very early in the morning because it's a lot easier for me to read and understand things that I would like to assimilate when everything is so quiet. And then, once you're able to understand whatever amount of learning, you need to be able to enforce yourself. Have the ability to also execute. A number of individuals that I've seen that has worked in the industry that I am in have over-analyzed situations. But the most important part is, after putting together all the inputs, are you able to execute and move quickly? And that's the most important part, to be able to pull the trigger, to be able to have the ability to address the situation immediately. I always believe in the business that I am in is a perishable goods industry. There's no amount of delay. Quality information, quality execution.
I want to put a pin on that because most people think that banking is the exchange of money, but actually I think I would describe what you do as being an eternal seer or forecaster and being able to see the present and the future. I think what you said describes the need to be a master of many industries, emerging industries all of a sudden, because you have to decide what to invest in, what to divest out of. And I think all of these things, I was going to ask, what was your routine? Or what is your, I mean, you mentioned already that you wake up. What time do you wake up?
I wake up very early. A lot of you are still asleep between 3 to 4 a.m., but I'm usually up at that time because for me that is the sacred hour by which you're able to take advantage of the quietness. And when I was assigned in Hong Kong, you wouldn't believe that very early in the morning I am already in the office because doing regional work, it allows you to be able to answer all your correspondences, review the markets before every phone call gets to happen. And the routine actually continues because this is something that I've been familiar with. That's how my body reacts to it. So if I have something to prepare for, I sleep over it, but make sure that I'm prepared early in the morning to be able to study, understand the situation, put together the respective solutions that I deem necessary to address it.
And I appreciate also what you said earlier, Sir Wick, about being able to execute and not falling into the so-called analysis paralysis, drowning in the numbers and not being able to make a decision or having a stake. I would also like to ask, what's your appetite, or that's something I guess most people going into banking are asked, but what is yours?
Well, when you say appetite, you probably are referring to risk appetite.
Yes, risk appetite.
You see, this business is about managing risk. There is nothing in this world that doesn't carry any risk. But it is about the ability to understand the risk, have the corresponding risk mitigants to be in place, and understand whether those risk mitigants are really effective. And that requires you to constantly debate within your mind, constantly have someone to be able to bounce those ideas off and be able to get a proper response. I always tell my team, you have to find issues or negative thoughts or comments on whatever, insights I make, because nobody's got a monopoly of good ideas, as I mentioned earlier. And then if you tell me that have I considered this, I respond back to you until both of us
Check and balance.
are sure
Yeah.
that we've come up with a right solution, because we've thoroughly discussed an issue, thoroughly discussed a problem. And every day is like a business case. There are different things that come about. And it's not only about investments. It can be operations. It can be matters that are totally outside of what you've mentioned, is your product, how you market it, how you're able to let your audience see and understand the product that you have. And it's about you being able to constantly reach out and say, here is my product, what are your thoughts? How's my process like? Is it simple enough for you, or are we overcomplicating things? I always want to make things simple. And our products should answer your problem and should be able to do so without you having to figure out so many things. So that's
Solutions-based approach.
solutions-based, keeping it simple, and that's how, as much as possible, we'd like to make things work.
And Sir Wick, we live in a time where there are so many changes. I mean, of course, maybe just 5 years ago, fintech wasn't really a buzzword yet. But now, financial technology has fingerprints in almost all of our lives. Just a few years ago, there was all the rage on NFTs and cryptocurrency. So I guess my question is, how do you assess, when there's a newfangled thing, trend, or industry, and assess that okay, this is something that has viability, or this is probably something that won't make it more than 3 years?
Let me first go into something that you mentioned earlier, technology. Do you know that GSIS, our loan products are 96% electronic, digital, and only 4% are over the counter. And we've been relying and developing our mobile phone. And the mobile phone is going to be one of the best ways for us to address customer experience. This morning, we made sure that the public school teachers get to understand more about our products. But it's more about customer service. And do you know that through the mobile phone, GSIS members can check their loan balances? They can immediately borrow, and within 8 hours, as long as the approving officer within their agency is able to say this is good, be able to execute immediately. So we have to take a look at how does the future look like, and adapt yourself to how the future look like, and be able to make yourself be able to be future proof, because the opposite to that is you'll become obsolete. In the morning, I asked the top team of the GSIS. We have our flag ceremony every morning. Every Monday morning at 8 a.m. The flag ceremony is where all of us gather, and allows me to be able to communicate to the rest of the team immediately after I shared what happened last week and what are the things that we need to pursue for the week. It is also an avenue for me to award those that are helping us push the general insurance business of GSIS. We're the biggest general insurer of the country. We insure every government property and equipment. And I've made sure that those that continue to get more general insurance for GSIS get to be awarded, and we issue a plaque of recognition during the flag ceremony, allows us to be able to recognize them. Then I have my top team meeting. In my top team meeting, one of the instructions I gave this morning is it is not enough that we are digitalized. I want to make sure we are totally paperless in a year's time. And it allows us then to further understand technology and how technology will be able to help us. And I've told the team, I need us now to take a look at what the current manpower complements we have. We do not have data scientists, we don't have data analysts. We have 2 million members and 550,000 pensioners. That's a huge amount of information that we are unable to take advantage of. And I told them I need to be able to put together a team that will understand our data, because our services, our products should be data dependent, allows us to address what they need. And the message I'm imparting is we are constantly making sure that we understand the future, we're preparing for the future, and we're able to make things easier for the lives of our members using technology. That's what we call ginhawa for all.
Give love with Lasallian Giving. Lasallian Giving is a new online donation facility that calls us to spread love for our Lasallian mission. Please visit the Lasallian Giving portal to donate via e-wallet or online banking, or go to any of our over-the-counter payment centers to support dlsu. Lasallian friends and alumni may donate any amount to the following projects and campaigns: scholarships for Lasallian Legacy Fund, sports, culture and arts, infrastructure and facilities, this podcast, and Santuario de la Salle. Leave a legacy, strengthen our animo. Give now at www.dlsu.edu.ph/give. I love that the mobile phones are being used also, because I can imagine they would be the best instrument too for raising financial literacy. I think every single Filipino has a mobile phone or two, and it's right at your fingertips. So, Sir Rick, I want to also, of course, touch on that. The Philippines is, of course, still working towards becoming as financially literate as its Asian counterparts. I mean, you were in Hong Kong, and you know how it's very normal for a Hong Kong citizen to, for example, invest in stocks, to have insurance. But for the Filipino market, it's not quite there. So how would you like to educate uh, the population to be able to raise our level?
Let me first reverse how I would like to address those kind of things. We're fortunate that our per capita income is around $3,500 right now. You're competing with the likes of Singapore, which is around 28,000 per capita income. Even Indonesia is already 8,000 per capita. Okay? For you to be able to have financial literacy succeed, require you to have a good amount of your population having income. That's the first. So it is imperative for us to be able to increase that, and that is why in GSIS, one of the things that we do in terms of making our investments is also to help in nation building. For example, the cost of power in the Philippines is 3 times the cost of power in Vietnam. And if I were to invite a company currently in China to consider the Philippines instead of Vietnam, and their first question is, what is the cost of power in your country? And they find out it is 3 times the cost of power in Vietnam. Why will they transfer to the Philippines? So if we're able to bring the cost of power down, then investments will follow suit automatically. No-brainer for me to move to the Philippines, put my factory there, because it will become more competitive. Much more, you are in an ASEAN country that allows free trade and take advantage of the 275 million population of Indonesia. Of course, the Philippines, 110 million population. You have something like close to 80 billion in Thailand, close to 100 of Vietnam, and you can just imagine the huge opportunity of ASEAN free trade. And if you're now able to improve the per capita, things are going to fall in place naturally in terms of financial literacy. Because when you have money, you now start to take a look at either having your investments be in risk-free assets, meaning the returns are low, but your principal is secure. And then you start to graduate by learning, investing in much riskier ventures where part of your principal can be at risk. And that's how it progresses. It's a lot easier to do financial literacy when there is something to invest. So it's imperative for us to address the cost, which is we need to make ourselves financial, or make our population financially independent first. And we're, in the step, or in the right direction, the steps in the right direction, by constantly finding more opportunities for us to be able to improve our economy. And that's how it will start. It will be easier for me to discuss a new investment to somebody who's familiar with just placing it in government securities or placing it in time deposit and now say, I would like to invest in equities. Would you like to invest in equities that are part of the index, or do you want to be more speculative in equities that promises a very good story, may not necessarily come in today, but may probably allow you to double or triple your investment within the next 3 or 4 years? Then they start to be curious and say, oh, I'm not yet prepared for that kind of risk, but I'm prepared to have 10% of my money in that kind of risk, while the 90% allows me to sleep comfortably at night. So that for me is how I'll address it, because you need to address the core, which is the ability to have ourselves have the ability to invest.
That really gets to the root of the problem. And I think what's brilliant about it is, as a banker, you're thinking not just of, the usual programs or, quick fixes, but this is really something that is a system fix and a whole grassroots approach.
And I'll share with you. Today, we had the opportunity to share to the Vice President, who's also the Secretary of Education, our multi-purpose loan, our enhanced multi-purpose loan. This enhanced multi-purpose loan is a loan product of GSIS that was crafted by listening to different school superintendents, teachers across the country about what or how GSIS loan products can be improved. So we listened, we improved it. And then I shared with them that it is not about you only borrowing money. The reason for us to come up with this new multi-purpose loan is to not only address the emergency financial needs of our stakeholders, but to allow them to start businesses, to give them more disposable income. And I shared with them, can you imagine a public school teacher? At the break of dawn, they're already on the way to school. They prepare everything, their class plans and so on. And when they go home late in the afternoon, they take care of their respective households. They take care of their children. Do they still have time to look for business opportunities? I said, no. We should be able to help them. We should be able to find for them partners that allow them to start businesses and have their loved ones who are at home to start these businesses and help them out. And that's how we can further enhance. And I cannot share, but there are a number of businesses or those that we invest in that we are going to partner with and allow the government employees and the teachers to be able to partner and improve their lives. So that's how we would like to address those concerns, those issues. Understand the core, understand what the real issue is, and be able to work on it.
Wow, that sounds like an exciting project, and I can see how it addresses very real world problems. And I'm sure it will be something worth highlighting. We will definitely watch out for it. Sir Wick, of course, I have to touch on your Lasallian roots. And I was wondering, what were you like as a student? Because of course now I see you as a statesman. And genuinely, because what you do in your role in GSIS has national ramifications. But how were you when you were 16 or as a student here in LaSalle? Do you still remember your ID number?
My ID number is 8232822. And I have fond memories of the campus. Entering the campus earlier through the south gate makes me remember the first thing I usually do is I pass by the male restroom, or the very classic very large urinals. You can no longer find those kind of urinals. I was looking for it earlier, and I passed by the registrar's office. I actually had myself pictured because I have a picture of myself together with my blockmates during our first day at school, and I took a picture of myself there together where we used to have pelota courts. Life was, if I may say, very different. Different because at the time, for 200 pesos allowance, that was already huge for you to be able to live for a week. And I remember having the option of, by Pebble Wash, is a chicken pie, kiosk. Mangtero, I remember Mangtero, I was the one. We call it potato pie because there's probably 2 or 3 small chunks of chicken and the rest is potato. If you have more money, you go to the SPS, the second floor. There's a Chinese restaurant there.
Wow.
So you can go and have a good meal there. If things are really better, you can go to the Aristocrat, which is by the South Gate, and of course you'll have Aristocrat products there. If times are really challenging, then the potato pie actually allows you to get through. 1 potato pie and 3 glasses of water allows you to survive the day. And Taft was still open. After our first year, the LRT, they started to build the LRT, so there was a time that the LRT was not yet there. And it brings good memories because during the time that LRT was being constructed, then that means the whole of Taft Avenue across LaSalle was quiet. So you don't have any jeepneys and you don't get to hear anything. So your classes will be going through, at the start, going through Benilde and going through SJ, and your sciences are mostly in SJ. Your freshman will more likely be in Benilde building. The moment you start to have LS classes, that means air-conditioned rooms, and of course that's something that you look forward to. And hanging around, you either stay by the bench, or there's this Pebble Wash there. We created our own. There's just so many people, so many personalities in the bench, and as I said, we'll hang out in front of the SPS by the steps of the SPS. So we'll have our own identity. And you create friends, lasting friends, which until now we're still in contact with. And those other batchmates, either young ones or upper batches, eventually when you start to work, you'll get to know each other, and it gives you the ability to get connected immediately, because at one point in time you see each other in campus. And I've taken a look at the picture. It makes me smile because I don't know, I still feel that it was the same old me, but taking a look at myself, how I look like before, it's totally very different from how it is now.
I love the statement from Brother Ceci Hohilia that nostalgia is memory of the heart. And I think the way you describe LaSalle is that statement brought to life. I think when you stepped through Southgate, all the memories rushed in. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
There's something that really allows you to, if I may share, the discipline that I've learned here is the moment you're in campus, all of you start to, enjoy, share stories, and so on and so forth. But when each of us retreat at the confines of our homes, you are forced to study because you need to be able to make it. And I think the trimester is one big discipline because it allows you or requires you to assimilate so much in such a short span of time.
Sir Wick, I know the banking industry is overrun by Lasallians. Why do you think that is so? Like, there are so many leaders of banking institutions who are Lasallians, all the way from new institutions to like GSIS, but to older ones like GSIS. So why do you think there are so many Lasallians in banking and finance?
I may not necessarily say that there's so much. I only know a few. And those that are in the opposite side of town may probably say there's more of them. But I know Bong Consing, Nestor Tan, Tony Mongkupa. Those were the CEOs that I'm familiar to be coming from LaSalle. And whether banking is dominated by people from our side of town or the other side of town, I would rather say in each and every business, it will always be dominated by individuals who's got the ability to put together strategies, ideas, and be able to execute and be able to deliver. And I think it is not going to be something that will come from a certain school or a certain institution, but it will come from a discipline that may probably be familiar with most that come from this side of Taft Avenue.
So Rick, what are the Lasallian values that you still hold dear, or of course that you'd like to, you would want to say has informed your life, your career?
In my career and in my life, I've always make sure that those that are in need of assistance and help, I'm always there. I've always believed in being there when you're needed most. But those things are not advertised. But you'd rather do it quietly and be there and be able to provide the support when you're needed most. And I've always believed in saying that those that are in need should always be supported by those that were given the opportunity to help. So that is something that allows me to be able to say that or share, one of the valuable lessons that I've learned from here.
Yeah, St. LaSalle's mission is to help the last, the least, and the lost. So that's very much in line. I guess for final thoughts, Sir Wick, I want to ask, now that you're the leader of GSIS, is there anything else that you think would be the pinnacle of your career, or you think this is it?
Those are things that you'll never get to know. When is the pinnacle? But I will share one thing. Wherever life brings you, you have to make the most out of it. You need to be able to extract all of your learnings, your talent, to be able to deliver and help. I consider this my conscription. My conscription, because working in government, as they say, is a sacrifice. I would rather say working with the government is a big opportunity to be able to help in nation building. I get excited each day coming up with programs on how to come up with a pambansang pabahay that addresses housing for government employees that is really affordable by thinking outside the box and coming up with programs that allow us to be able to deliver quality houses with no down payment. I can share more of those details in the future because I'd like to launch it formally when we already have the features, because I told everyone else the right of suffrage or the right to vote, if I may say, is not only the basic right of an individual, but the decency to own a home is a basic right. And we'd like to make our government employees have the dignity to have their own home. But if they don't have the ability to be able to pay the down payment, and you're unable to come up with a solution, then that means you're unable to put together a solution to the mission. I'm a mission-oriented individual. Whatever is the mission, I will make sure that I put together everything that I get to understand. Working with government allow me to go home smiling each day because I'm able to learn something and I'm able to deliver something that will be good for government employees. Our investments, I tell my team, we should not be happy and saying to the rest of the world that we made so much. It is not enough that you make or be successful, but you need to be able to add value according to Albert Einstein. And for us, we make money if we are unable to provide value to the government employees. That's nothing. We'd like to create value. And slowly but surely, while I'm doing this responsibility for the government employees, I will make sure that together with the rest of my GSIS management team and all our kawani or employees of GSIS will make each government employee feel that by joining government, it has changed their lives positively. It is not only going to be, I joined government and then I'll wait for my retirement. No. There must be something concrete that they get to feel, whether that is going to be a roof over their head, or that is going to be a medical insurance over and above PhilHealth, or that is going to be able to have the ability to help in the food security of the Philippines, or that is going to be able to have programs that allow us to have the government employees be able to say, we're able to start a business and it allowed us to improve our lives. Or if it is going to be a cheaper education for government employees, that is what we should be able to aim for. So hopefully we're able to achieve that. Do you know that it's already been a year and 3 months since I joined government? And I always take a look at the amount of time that I should, together with the rest of the team, be able to deliver more. Because we need to set the footprint or the playbook, hopefully, that the rest of those that will eventually manage GSIS be able to use to allow this continuous program of service to the government employees and help in nation building at the same time. If you're able to put all of those things together, help in nation building, it will create jobs. Jobs create taxes. Taxes fixes the deficit and the balance of payment problems. It allows you to be able to address your credit rating. And hopefully, our $3,500 per capita income slowly improves, and everybody now will be able to have disposable income and have the ability to discuss investments. And that financial literacy will be a lot easier to explain because you can explain to somebody that has got disposable income that this is how you can make more returns out of your money.
And that is why we will pray for your success because those programs are surely going to answer so many real problems, and those solutions are much urgent. So thank you so much, Sir Wick. It has been a pleasure speaking with you. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Decades LaSalle. Give love with Lasallian Giving. Lasallian Giving is a new online donation facility that calls us to spread love for our Lasallian mission. Please visit the Lasallian Giving portal to donate via e-wallet or online banking, or go to any of our over-the-counter payment centers to support dlsu. Lasallian friends and alumni may donate any amount to the following projects and campaigns: scholarships for Lasallian Legacy Fund, sports, culture and arts, infrastructure and facilities, this podcast, and Santuario de la Salle. Leave a legacy, strengthen our animo. Give now at www.dlsu.edu.ph/give.